Let's take a look at 3 figures from the Black Series Revenge of the Sith 20th Anniversary Collection. Varykino. If it's Star Wars, we collect it. Hello there, thanks for visiting Varykino. I'm really excited. I have 3 Black Series figures from the 20th Anniversary Collection celebrating Revenge of the Sith. For us here in New Zealand, it is quite hard to get those fun anniversary carded Black Series figures released for anniversaries. When it came to the original trilogy, we had a few stores stocking those ones, but any of the other anniversary collections have been nearly impossible to find here. Those collections include the Phantom Menace, the Clone Wars Micro Series, and the Power of the Force 2. I absolutely love the large, nostalgic backing card packaging styles for Black Series figures, and I'm trying to collect as many as I can, but it is a sad fact that New Zealand just gets left out a lot of the time. So we were really surprised when these 3 showed up at one of our favorite online stockists. So of course we grabbed all 3. Now of course I will be taking a closer look at all 3, but for nostalgia's sake, I'm going to be keeping these particular ones on their backing card because I just love the presentation. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Let's take a closer look at each figure, and I'm going to start off with Count Dooku. The packaging for this episode 3 anniversary collection of Black Series figures is of course in reference to the original packaging style for the 3.75-inch figures released in 2005 for the Revenge of the Sith. I am very, very fond of this style of packaging and that era of Star Wars action figure collecting. I was there at midnight in April when we got those first early figures for episode 3. It was a really cool time, so I am so excited that we have this anniversary styled up larger version for the Black Series collection. Now, at first glance, they do look very similar. There are a few differences. I noticed that the angle on the bubble is quite different. So of course, if you actually took this and scaled it up for 6-inch figures, they would be a lot taller. We noticed that with some of the other anniversary carded ones. They've kind of scaled it so they're not too enormous, but you can see the head is quite close to the top of the bubble compared to where the 3.75-inch figure helmet we've got sitting about here. We've got all of this extra plastic on the top. Now, just behind in the plastic bubble, we have this fantastic art of Anakin versus Obi-Wan, of course. Now, it is a little bit hidden, a little bit more here. The plastic bubble almost completely covers that artwork at the top of the Darth Vader helmet. So to expose it a little bit more for this Black Series collection, they have softened out the curve. It's a lot more rounder. You see on the original version, it's quite peaked to kind of flow in with the angles of the Darth Vader sort of backing card here in the background. So I kind of like the fact that we've got this sort of rounded off so that we get a little bit more of that art there. The artwork here on this backing card, I think, is a little bit more purple in hue compared to this one. It's a little bit more blue. Very subtle, of course. This is 20 years old, so the color of the backing card might have changed a little bit there as well. In terms of the rest of the packaging, very similar. We've got this insert with the character art in the same place and a secondary insert that wraps around the bottom with the Star Wars logo, the character name, all in the same place there, Revenge of the Sith, and even the sides are very similar. Just a subtle change. This one has an orange band for the ages 4 and up. Here we have a yellow band, but we even have the warning in at the same place. So I just think it's really fun. In terms of the actual sort of lava and flame effect in and behind the figures, they've obviously had to tweak this a little bit because of just the size and scale of the insert here in the back. So when you look at sort of the splashes of lava and the way that they fall around the Vader helmet, the placement is different, but I would, not expect them to be exactly the same. We often see Hasbro kind of tweak and sort of adjust some of the backing card art to make for, better placement when we're scaling it up for the Black Series collection. Now, let's take a closer look at the Dooku figure. So taking a closer look at the figure inside the packaging, because I won't be opening this one up, I love the sculpting here. It is a really good likeness for Christopher Lee, who of course played Count Dooku. He has a very distinctive face, and I think, when you've got a really recognizable actor or actress, it really does tell if this sculpting is off, and this one really does look like Count Dooku. I think this is fantastic. He's got just the right amount of sort of scowl there with his eyebrows eyebrows. The hair is slicked back, looks really nice. The sculpting looks great. And of course, we've got the modern era of digital printing, which wasn't there in those very early days of the Black Series line. So that's nice to see on these modern figures, especially if you're going to be keeping them as special boxed examples like I will be for this one. Now, this figure has a soft goods cape, which I think is just fantastic. And of course, I bought this one online, so I wasn't able to see the placement of the soft goods element because sometimes they can be just a little bit askew and it kind of looks a little bit messy, or perhaps it's kind of hiding a lot of detail. I really like the way that it is sitting over the shoulders, and we've got this nice plastic clasp there holding it in place. You can see the rest of the cape kind of down here by the legs. Mine is sort of swooshing off to the right here of the figure, or to the left of the packaging, and that looks kind of fun. Even though it's not hanging straight, I kind of like that motion there. You can see the details. We've got the belt, we've got his hands in nice grips for holding lightsabers. Looks really, really good. Of course, he does have a somewhat simplistic outfit. We don't have a lot of detail to go over here, but we do have two accessories. So of course, we have his standard curved hilt, very iconic. Now we have a removable red standard ignited blade, because of course, sadly, the Black Series doesn't come with separate hilts. We have to sort of take these two apart if we want to attach the hilt. We do have a peg slot attachment there on the belt. So of course, we could take this off and attach it to the belt, but we have to remove the blade. But of course, removable blades means that we do get some options. And for this figure, we have an action blade. We're sort of creating that lightsaber swoosh. So that's really fun. Though I do have to note, to my eyes, the action blade just looks a little bit more pink in color compared to the red of this blade. So that's a little bit of a shame. I don't really want pink blades for my Sith. But of course, for me personally, I won't be taking this figure out, so I won't be utilizing this particular accessory. If I was, I would probably just stick to this one, because I think this one is a bit more of a truer red. That is a nice little bonus accessory if you're going to be opening this one up, but for me, the color is just a little bit paler. I know that, you know, if you have a thin accessory, you're not going to have that sort of real vibrancy of color. You're going to get a little bit more of a translucent one, and translucent red tends to read a little bit more pink, but that is still a fun accessory. I think it looks great. I really like the insert that they've used here. I think it's a really good matching expression. I am particularly fond of, if I'm keeping my figures packaged, that the promotional image used, especially on the front of the packaging, is a really good match for the figure inside. And I think with the way that the cape is sitting on the shoulders in this particular promotional photo here, and the figure itself just looks fantastic. He's a good position in the card. I like his expression. He's got his arms nicely by his sides, and the accessories on either side, well balanced. Really happy about this one in terms of a example to keep carded. So happy to have Count Dooku in this style packaging. Next up, we have Kit Fisto, the Nautolan Jedi who was most prominent in episode 3 during the Jedi arrest scene. So this figure has been released before, earlier in the Black Series line. I don't own that one, so I can't do a side-by-side comparison, but having seen photos of that figure online, I wasn't especially fond of the heavy level of weathering on some figures. I felt like it gave him quite a brown appearance, and of course, I think of Kit Fisto as a green Jedi. So I was really happy to see that in hand he has a much more even skin tone. I feel like he has a very good green color. We still get those darker green patches coming through. There is a little bit of a brown wash picking up some of the creases in where his head tails kind of blend into his face area, which I do like. It kind of really picks up some of that detail, but it doesn't obscure the green color, which I think is really nice. And of course we have this really nice promotional photo here of Kit Fisto from episode 3, which does make a really good match in terms of the details. You can see those sort of brown accents coming in the creases, which we can see really coming through on the figure, which is really nice, especially if you want to keep your figures carded. I like them to match the attached promotional imagery. What doesn't match, unfortunately, is the lightsaber. We can see that we have a silver hilt there with sort of a ringed emitter. The included accessory is inaccurate. We have silver and black. This particular lightsaber accessory doesn't have an attachment peg, We do have a little peg hole on the belt, but we can't actually attach this hilt to Kit Fisto's belt, which is a shame. If you have other Black Series Jedi figures, perhaps you could borrow a lightsaber that looks a little bit more closer to this one and attach it to his belt for photos or perhaps for permanent display if you happen to have extras, but that is a little bit unfortunate. Again, I do like my figures to match. And also, of course, he very distinctively wears a brown wool cloak in this Jedi arrest scene. You can see it very clearly here in the promotional imagery. Now, it would have been fantastic if this figure had come with a brown soft goods robe. I think that that would have perhaps covered up a little bit of the Obi-Wan-ness of this underlying sculpt here, and of course been very much a closer match to his appearance in episode 3. It seems like a little bit of a cost-cutting measure in terms of the accuracy of this figure. I can understand a few reused parts where appropriate, but the lack of a cloak is a little bit of a downgrade, I think, for really matching his episode 3 appearance, especially when we have that reference image right here. I think that that would have just really bumped this figure up a notch, but I do like the way he is posed in here. He's got a really nice force gesture hand here. It's nice to have a bit of variance because, of course, we have that really cool force push moment in episode 2 in the arena where he sort of pushes the battle droid over. That's really nice to see. Overall, he looks good in this packaging. I like the imagery here. Just a few quibbles about the actual figure. In terms of the actual paintwork in that, of course, we've got the modern era of digital printing, so he looks nice. I do like that, but as I mentioned, I like to keep these episode 3 figures carded because they're just so nostalgic of the packaging style. So of course I want everything to be looking nice. Now you may notice that the cardboard insert here is a little bit misaligned in how it is sitting in the bubble. It's kind of bubbled away from the plastic front here because it's not quite aligned in with the plastic here, which is a little bit of a shame. I know I'm being very particular, but you know, if you're going to be keeping something mint, you want it to be sort of all lined up as best as you can. So in terms of opening these figures up, Kit Fisto is one where I did have the opportunity to buy a second one. So this is the one that I will be keeping carded. Now you may think, why on earth am I keeping this one carded? Because there is a little bit of a, not errors per se, but it isn't quite aligned in terms of the cardboard insert. This one here has its own quirks, and I'm just sort of sharing this as a bit of a perhaps warning if you are able to see these toys in store. Now if you see the two lines on the Vader helmet design in the back of the backing card here, this figure is aligned to the left of the backing card. This one is nice and straight, all lined up. This one is lined off to the side, and you can really see that because the plastic is completely over the edge of the backing card here. It is quite offset to the left. We've got a lot of cardboard exposed over here, and the bubble is fully off the edge, and to me that's quite annoying. And of course, together with the actual figure being fully aligned more to the left, he looks quite off center. Also, his head tails are kind of swished to the side, a minor note, but it is this particular packaging flaw that I'm very not happy with. But I did buy two with the intent of opening one, so it was a matter of just deciding which packaging flaw was more of an issue to me. The overlying plastic and the misalignment of the figure, or the fact that the cardboard insert here is a little bit out of place. This one with its whole figure alignment out of center line meant that this is the one that I'm going to be opening up, which I gotta say, because I haven't opened up a Kit Fisto, I love the Alien Jedis from the prequel, so I'm quite excited about opening this one up, and that'll be coming out very soon. Next up we have R2-D2, and I thought this one was a bit of a curious choice to include in the Revenge of the Sith Anniversary Collection, seeing as we don't have characters like General Grievous or even some really unique characters from episode 3 like Tion Medon. But considering Hasbro hasn't even formally announced Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker in this anniversary packaging, fingers crossed there is still some really cool characters yet to be announced and released. So let's move on to R2-D2, of course, as we have him here. He is slightly different to the other version that I have on hand. If I just move this one to the side, this is the other R2-D2 Black Series figure that I have in my collection. You can see he is on the 40th anniversary Return of the Jedi backing card, and I don't have him open. This is the only Black Series R2 that I've ever been able to find here in New Zealand. I spotted this one, grabbed it, and I've never found any others. And I really love the Nostalgia Kenner backing card, so he is tucked away safe here. So I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison of these two carded figures. I absolutely love this R2. He looks fantastic. For this release, we have 6 little accessories. We have 4 arms and 2 sort of dome attachments. We have a sensor scope and a periscope and 4 arms. So when we look at this Revenge of the Sith release, we have his little connector parts from his legs to do his rocket boosts, as we see him use in the prequel. So of course that's important. Now we do have 4 arms but no dome attachments. So we've kind of got a similar amount of accessories than compared to this release, but I think it fits quite well with the prequel release because of course that really notable scene in episode 3 where he takes on those super battle droids with his rocket boosters and sort of sets fire to them, which I really like. So very good that we have them there, and we've got those 4 arm attachments there as well. In terms of the actual details, as best I can tell, he looks to be pretty similar to the previous release from Return of the Jedi in terms of the panel details, the painting. Of course, I am not opening these, so I can't do a scientific side-by-side comparison of all of the details. I can't see whether he has the same dome slots where the attachment ones for Return of the Jedi would go in. I can't see if those are still present on this figure, but in terms of the paintwork and the details, they look identical to my eye through the plastic. But yeah, an interesting choice for the episode 3 lineup. So yeah, I'm really hoping we'll see a few other characters that are a little bit more central to the episode 3 film, like of course Obi-Wan and Anakin, but he looks really cool, and as you can see, I'm very happy to have him in my collection. I think he looks really cool. We've got a really nice image here of R2-D2, of course, and he always looks cool in the Black Series line. Let's take a look at the back of the backing card for all 3 figures, and once again it is heavily inspired by the original packaging design from the 3.75-inch action figure line from 2005. We have promotional photography of the characters at the top. We have the Star Wars Revenge of the Sith logo at the top in those fantastic yellow and orange colors. We have a yellow banner for the character name just underneath the logo, and down the left hand side we have a light grey panel and yellow panel behind the awesome toy photography. Of course, we have Black Series figures here, each posed with their accessories. Now, instead of a lineup of other figures from the collection, we have a blurb about this particular anniversary collection. Celebrate the 20th anniversary of Star Wars Revenge of the Sith with figures from the Black Series, featuring commemorative packaging. And that blurb is repeated in a few different languages. It's a little bit of a shame we don't have images of the other characters in the lineup, but Hasbro has been releasing these in little batches, so I can kind of see why they would keep that a little bit of a secret. The design is unfortunately cut off here. Instead of continuing all the way down to the bottom, we have a lot of copyright warning information that wasn't as large and dominant in the older packaging from 2005. But of course, the Black Series does need to note a lot of things because these toys are intended for older collectors. They do have to note the warning labels for the small accessories because these are often stocked in the toy departments. But overall, a little bit more simpler. We don't have all of those other cool figures featured here, but I do like the fact that most of the design is still referencing the original 3.75-inch packaging. So that was my first in-hand look at 3 figures from the Hasbro Black Series Revenge of the Sith 20th Anniversary Collection. I didn't think we would ever see these stocked locally here in New Zealand, let alone 3 of them. Now I know that there are other characters, and fingers crossed we might even see those stocked in New Zealand as well, but for now I'm just excited to have not 1 but 3 examples for my collection. When these were announced, I really wanted to get my hands on them, but they are large, which means shipping does tend to be a little bit expensive, and because of this curved section, I wasn't sure how well they would survive in the mail all the way down here to New Zealand. And of course, I do want to keep them carded. In saying that, of course, I was able to source a second Kit Fisto figure, so I will be able to open one up. I'll be doing that very shortly because I'm very excited to get this one out of the packaging. And maybe, hopefully in the future, I'll be able to track down a second Count Dooku and R2-D2 as well to open those ones up. But for now, I have 3 figures to keep in this fantastic anniversary packaging and a new Black Series figure to open up. It's not often that here in New Zealand we get figures at a similar time to North America, so it's a very exciting time for us here, and I really can't wait to open him up. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today as I took a look at some fun new Black Series figures. I had a lot of fun. It's very exciting for this prequel fan. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the galaxy, and let's hang out again very, very soon for more Star Wars fun. May the Force be with you. If you're a Black Series fan, I've also unboxed the Archive Episode 3 Obi-Wan Kenobi figure. That video is linked here in case you haven't already seen it, as well as a whole Black Series unboxing playlist. This is the way.